It is a big win for many Democrats worried about the midterm elections. But despite the bill's catchy title, nonpartisan analysis by places like the University of Pennsylvania say the bill is actually unlikely to do much to lower inflation, could actually raise inflation in the near term because it's adding spending here, Melissa. And listen, again, this is sort of a repackaged, Build Back Better, shrunk down. Here's the thing I think investors have to know. If we're arguing about the Fed and we're talking about inflation, okay, the reality of the bill is this. They're going to sell it on reducing healthcare costs, and maybe it ultimately will. And I'm not knocking the bill. I'm simply telling you what's in the bill. The Medicare negotiation with the top 10 prescription drugs does not begin until 2026. And then in 2027, it goes to 15 drugs. So we could talk about, Tom, inflation reduction maybe in the bill through healthcare. But I hope that anybody who interviews a congressman, Republican, Democrat, or whatever, notes that a lot of these provisions are years out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know my thoughts, Brian. I think the Democratic leadership in the House and Senate did themselves a disservice by naming this the Inflation Reduction Act, because Americans are very smart and they understand policy, and this clearly isn't going to reduce inflation. You mentioned Penn Wharton. I think the Congressional Budget Office itself said this will do nothing for inflation. So it's just frustrating. It's not genuine.
And the Joint Committee on Taxation and some others.
Yeah, it's essentially a climate bill with a whole lot of taxes that are going to disproportionately impact the lowest quintile, or perhaps the lower 2 quintiles. And of course, the carried interest tax evaded the bill. And so that is what it is. It's a climate bill with a lot of taxes on the lower end.
And it's, listen, I don't want to be overly political on one side or the other, Melissa. You know this. I mean, the Republicans do it too. Naming bills has now become like a Mad Men advertising exercise, right? You can just name a bill. You can say world's best coffee. I don't know if it's the world's best coffee.
It's a good headline for you to say that we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. Right?
Yes.
It's a win.
And in the media, because that's what it's called, we have to call it that.
We'll see if it's a win when it comes time for the midterm elections and inflation is still stubbornly high. We'll see how that plays out.
All right, well, let's talk more about this, in fact. And go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, quickly.
I was just going to talk about 2 of the ways that the bill is raising revenue, the 15% minimum tax and the 1% buyback tax. That 15% minimum tax, again, those companies aren't just going to pay the tax and not pass it through in prices. They're going to pass it through in prices, and that is a regressive tax on that bottom quintile. And so I just think we should be transparent about the impact here, what it means for wealth inequality in society.
Well, also the IRS disproportionately audits lower income people for whatever reason, probably because it's easier. And so adding to the IRS staffing, while a good thing if they can go after the tax cheats on the rich, historically, 4 and 5 audits occurs on people making less than $100,000 or something like that. All right, let's talk more about this with Texas Democratic Congressman Colin